consistency is key, but you have to have a strategy behind it, guys. If you're sitting there and you're just posting before and afters consistently with one emoji as the caption, you could still be consistent and not get the result. You know, you could be working really hard for a very long time and still feel like you're getting nowhere because you don't have a strategy. Hello and welcome back to another episode on the Beauty Industry Leaders Podcast. I'm your host, Sammy Kennedy. Today, I'm joined by someone who has been in the industry for 12 years, growing her business from a bedroom side hustle to a thriving salon. And now she's stepping into the coaching space to help other beauty business owners do the same. Taurie, the founder of Lash Lane, is known for her natural classic lash sets and her expertise in content creation and branding. She's seen the good, the bad, and the ugly of the lash industry, from unregulated training to pricing discrepancies and low-quality work flooding the market. And now she's on a mission to raise the standards and show beauty professionals how to position themselves as high-value experts through branding and content. In this episode, we're diving into how she went from dental nursing to a thriving beauty business, the hardest lessons from hiring and dealing with toxic staff, why branding and content are the key to attracting premium clients, and the unregulated lash industry and why it needs to change. If you want to elevate your beauty business, create a brand that attracts dream clients, and avoid the mistakes that so many lash artists make, this episode is for you. And if you're not a lash artist, I promise you that some of the key takeaways here will still be relevant because, as you all know, we're in the beauty industry. A lot of things overlap. So please, even if you think you see lashes and you're like, this isn't relevant, a lot of the stuff you're going to hear is still going to apply to you. Welcome to the show, Taurie. How are you feeling?
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm feeling good.
Are you excited to dive into your whole journey today?
Yeah, it's going to definitely take me back a few moons, but yeah, I'm ready to dive in and talk about all the things that I've been through in the industry.
12 years. That's a long time.
Yeah, I think I keep saying 12 years. It's probably, I feel like I've said 12 years for so many years. It's probably about 13 or 14 right now. It's been a long time. I feel like I was one of the first people on the scene for lashes. So I've definitely seen the industry grow through the good and the bad and to, where it is now. And with social media, I never even had Instagram when I started. So it's been very
You must have been around for a while.
Yeah. I'm not that old, I swear.
Taurie, your beauty journey started with a lash course for your 25th birthday. Mm-hmm. What made you want to take that course in the first place?
To be honest, I used to do my own lashes with the little clusters that you could buy from like the supermarket. And I just had an obsession with having my lashes done because I had really straight lashes and I'd put mascara on and I'd hate it. And then I discovered these little clusters. So I was like, oh, these are cool. And so I would wear them, but they were just like a day thing. And then I would, like wash them off at night because lashes, they weren't around back then. And so I used to get compliments on them all the time. And I was like, this is crazy. And then my girlfriends were like, can you please do these lashes on me? And I'm like, oh, I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to put them on anyone else. Like, I don't know. I like really fiddly things and I could do it really well myself. And so my birthday came around and I thought to myself, you know what, because my friends want these done, I should just learn how to do it. And there was a lash course coming up and I said to my mum, I want this lash course for my birthday. She was like, okay. It was $150 and,
oh my gosh.
and there was myself and 20 to 30 other girls in like a classroom. Yeah, it was like two teachers.
Did you get any support or were you just kind of like?
No, I glued my model's eyes together. Yeah. So it was from that experience, it was a big journey for me to learn lashes and to keep at it. And I, even like on Google, there was no like information about, like what to use and what not to use and how the glue works and like the different types of lashes. And like there was literally nothing out there. I was just kind of flying blind, but I knew that when I did it, I was good at doing it. So I just kept pushing and I just kept persisting and just doing it out of the determination of wanting to work out how to do it and how to do it well.
I think it's really interesting because I remember you saying you came from this dental background. And so obviously for someone who comes from a medical environment where everything is sanitized, everything is clean, everything has a strict system or procedure, did you find that from your lash training you felt completely underqualified to even go out there and be able to offer that service? And I'm not saying that that's a reflection on you, but I'm also saying in a training with that many people in it and it being that new, like did it only go for one day or did you have?
Yeah, it only went for one day. It was probably like a 9 till 3 type training. I think because I'm so particular and I'm so like I'm the type of person that everything has to look nice and it has to be good and things like that. I knew that when I was practicing that I wasn't doing a bad job. I was practicing to the best of my ability, but even when I was doing the application of the lashes, I wasn't making a mess of it. So it was, I suppose to answer your question, no, it didn't really ever feel like that. I suppose it just kind of felt like a new journey to learn because it probably didn't feel like that because also I didn't know the things that could go wrong because the training was so poor. Like I didn't know the implications of getting glue in someone's eye or, like obviously that's not going to be good, but, like those sorts of things, they just weren't, nothing was taught basically.
It's kind of like, it's interesting because obviously training has evolved so much now and you see that, there's online courses, there's in-person training. Some people do 1-day training, some people do 2. There's a lot of inconsistency and I feel like that's something that I struggled with when I was choosing my lash course back in the day. I chose a 1-day course. It was $625. I didn't even learn how to do a refill.
Yeah.
And I just remember walking out there going like, is that it? Like I can just go and start my business now? Like what?
Yeah, apparently. Yeah. And to be honest, a lot of the trainings now, they're not up to scratch because as you know, the industry isn't regulated. People do a lash course and then they do lashes for 6 months and then they see dollar signs and they think, oh, I'm going to be a trainer. And then they go off and train and then it creates this whole domino effect of this unregulated industry that still brings forward, bad work and bad standards and bad customer service. And these girls, they're undertrained, but I also feel like they're getting into teaching for the wrong reasons. And I feel like that's a big downfall for the industry, unfortunately, because there's still no sort of like you can do this and you can't do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's with any industry. There's always, if there's a lack of regulation and there's low barriers to entry, it can essentially attract anyone and everyone. And I think on the other side of that, the positive is if you're really good at what you do and you have that attention to detail and you have that client care and you go the extra mile, invest in more training, it's not that hard to actually stand out because
it's not hard at all.
In a sea of bad quality, if you're premium quality, that's going to turn heads. Going back to your journey, you started lashing in your bedroom and since then you've built a salon, you've hired staff and you're also stepping into education. Did you ever expect your business to grow this much?
Not at all. Not at all. It was a hobby to start with. And like I said, I'd been a dental nurse for many, many years, maybe 5, 6, 7 years at this point. And I just got to a point where I was like, I don't have a hobby. And I was like, that was another part of me wanting to do lashes. I was like, I like fiddly things. I'll just do, a lash course and then I'll have a hobby. And it really surpassed my expectations as to how well I could do it and how good I was at doing it. And then also the way that it grew. And like you, just going back to what you said, it's like if you can do something really well, especially in this industry, you'll stand out. And I think that that's what happened, because it was referrals for me, because like I said, I didn't have Instagram at the time. Like it wasn't really even like Instagram wasn't a thing for businesses. And so the growth of my business was from word of mouth. And then it was, girls walking in the street and being like, who did your lashes? And so they would give out my cards. And then I was like, oh my gosh, I have to have a business name now. Like I didn't have anything. I was just like, I'm just going to do this on weekends for friends. And yeah, I was like, okay, I have to have a business name and I have to do all the things. And then I just got so busy that way. And mind you, I was only working weekends and nights after working, I worked as a dental nurse full time. And I got so busy doing that it was just kind of a no-brainer. I was like, well, I'm just going to quit my job and I'm just going to do this full time. And if it doesn't work, I can just go back to dental nursing, but I'm going to give it a go. And so that's how my business originally grew. And that definitely wasn't, I didn't have like a plan in place to get it to where it was. But then once I had my business and it was a registered business and I had all these business things pop up and I had to learn how to do, and then the competition sort of like started to arise, then that's when all the business things come into play. And that's when all the content things came into play and all the branding and stuff like that. And then that's how I grew it from referrals to more being reputable online and creating like a really reputable brand and having that really beautiful like visual marketing appeal through my content.
I think one of the biggest misconceptions we have in the industry is that if I just post photos of work, I'll get clients. And there's no thought or attention to lighting, angles. Like I can see their nostril hairs, their double chins. That poor client is mortified, like too scared to message you, delete that. And it's just like, why am I not fully booked? And you kind of go, well, it doesn't just happen like that.
It doesn't just happen like that anymore. And that's the thing with the evolution of Instagram. Like Instagram for businesses is a free platform. And that's what I try and get across to like, people on my coaching page. I'm like, this platform is free. Like we need to utilize it. You need to learn how to utilize it to get the most benefit out of using it for your business. But yeah, the biggest thing that I find with people that are reaching out, they're like, I don't know angles and I don't know lighting and, just all these like content things that people need help with, because now, we're content creators as well as beauty artists, which we didn't sign up for.
It's so interesting. I remember listening to a podcast about you don't really start succeeding in business until you actually understand the business you're in.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you get into beauty thinking it's about beauty, like you're saying, I'm doing lashes, I'm doing skin, I'm doing brows, like that's what I signed up for. But actually being an employee, you're going to do that, but being a business owner, you're going to do that. Plus it's actually marketing. Beauty industry is actually a business of marketing.
100%. Yeah. And it's the biggest industry of marketing, I think, for visual marketing appeal or visual marketing attraction. So there's businesses that can definitely get away with not having to have an appealing looking page because they're,
plumber.
Because what?
Like a plumber, me with my toilet, got my little.
Yeah, like they're not putting up, them working on a toilet. Like that's not appealing, So they're a service-based industry as well, but they're more of a necessity, whereas, beauty is more of a luxury service. So you really need to try and sell. You need to sell luxury online and you need to sell a feeling before somebody's going to book in with you. And for like the beauty industry with facials, I know that when I see a really well-made reel or any sort of content of a facial, I immediately think, oh God, I could do with that. Like that would feel so nice. And that's what you need to try and portray through your content, not hey, I can do this facial for you, like come in, book now, because
20% off. Woo.
Yeah, nobody's going to care about that. It's like you need to make people look at that and feel like I want that or I need that and I'm going to book in, because women are emotional buyers, and that's why visual marketing appeal online for beauty businesses is so, so important.
I wholeheartedly agree with everything you just said. And
I'm glad.
essentially your content needs to be like a trailer, a movie trailer. People need that results in advanced marketing to take away. There's going to be a barrier to entry, right? It's either going to be, oh, it costs too much, or I'm scared it's not going to be worth it, or, you know, I've tried something in the past, but it hasn't worked out. And if you're creating that content that showcases the experience from the client's point of view, shows them what the salon's like, shows them what the treatment's like, shows them the before and afters. Essentially, you've just given them a taste of what you have to offer that's more than just your service name and the price point.
100%,
and so
yeah.
if you've got all these people price shopping around who are only looking at, oh, how much do you charge? You know, you get those DMs and people go, how much do you charge? And then you give them the prices, you get ghosted and you're like, oh, damn it. It's just like, you have to put effort into the client experience now more than ever for that long-term retention, because people aren't loyal to anyone but themselves. And if they're going to stay loyal to you, it's because you're providing them with value.
Yeah, absolutely. And you also, like, the client experience also starts before they come in to see you. Like, they want to see you and they want to see what your space looks like. And they basically want that 3D look into what am I actually going to be walking into, instead of like just the service. Because when you create that space in like depth space in your content, and you can show people that you're in your space and this is where you're going to be walking into and this is what our rooms look like and things like that, that's such a more comfortable feeling for somebody to see where they're going and actually like want to book in, opposed to, because if I saw that and then I saw another page where it just had before and afters, I'd most certainly choose the page that is showing me what their salon is like and what the girls look like and how they're dressed and what the, you know, what the vibe is in the salon. And that's another thing that you really need to get through with your content.
Let's touch on this a bit more. So when I, as a business coach, am going to reach out to people, something I find really awkward is when I can't find their name. Like, someone's followed me, I just want to send a message, say, hey, thank you so much for the support. It's great to connect with you. And I'm scrolling like until the start of their profile, and there is not one picture of their face or a caption that says their name, and it feels like a faceless account. And so many people don't realize that they're doing this. By not showing your face, by not showing your name, by not showing who your team are, it creates a lack of trust, because yes, you have great quality work, but who's doing the work? Do I like them? Do I want to sit with them for like 2 hours or an hour, or, you know, are we going to vibe? And I think there's been a massive shift in the way we also have seen content progress. Like, you came in when Instagram was just getting started, and then you've also seen the notorious before and afters on every single post. But now we're moving into more of an era where we're showing our faces. Personal brands are the key to growing. What are your thoughts around what you're seeing working really successfully with marketing on Instagram in today's world?
Basically exactly what you said, just having a personal element to the business, and for it to not be so separated, and for people to not feel like they are too scared to show up online. But that difference in whether somebody's going to book with you or not is, it's no comparison. Like, I even had, like, yesterday, I was looking for somewhere to go and get a spray tan, because I've had to come to my parents' place like last minute. Normally I get a spray tan where I live every week. And so I was like, okay, I need to look for somewhere else to go while I'm here. And there were only 5 pages that came up from the search that I did. And I know there's more than 5 on like where I am. But they came up, and then the one that I chose, the only reason I chose it was because she was the only one that had the booking link, and she was the only one that had a story up showing her face. And that was it for me. Like that was the deciding factor. Like all the other ones were just like generic photos or like filler photos or stuff that didn't really have anything to do with the service that I was after, because I was like, well, like, show me your tans, like show me you, like I'm going to have to stand like, you know, half naked in front of you. Like I need to know who you are. Like I want to see who you are type thing. So those little things are really important. And I think when you start to look from the client's perspective, it makes a huge difference on how you should show up online, because you're doing everything for them.
Imagine that. You go to booking this spray tan, you have no idea who it is. They've got all the filler photos, you know.
Get there, it's a man.
Price, and you're like, yep, I'm going to book this one. This is the one. And then you rock up and it's like Dave spray tanning some 50-year-old bloke who looks like he hasn't showered in 3 days. Let me just stand naked in front of you. Like, no.
Yeah. Yeah, no thanks.
I agree with everything you're saying. Like, it's really interesting because often we copy what other people are doing just because we have no idea. And I'm talking about this like in the beginning stages. If you don't actually know marketing, you don't understand branding, like if you don't know that, you're obviously going to copy what everyone else is doing because you're like, I just need to fit in, or like I need to be on the right path. But Taurie and I are going to come here and like completely shatter your mindset around that, because 90% of the industry don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And this is why so many people stay stuck, because they're just constantly trying to copy what they see online, following the latest trend. And it's like, what is the purpose of this post? Like, is it actually serving your brand or not?
Yeah. Yeah. Purposeful posting is what I talk about with my students all the time. They're like, can I post this? I'm like, yeah, sure. Why are you posting it? They're like, I don't know. Like, it looks good. I'm like, what looks good about it? Like, what are you going to say about it? Oh, I don't know. I don't know. I'll probably just put like an emoji for a caption. And I'm like, well, would you walk up to somebody that you've never known before and not say a word? And they're like, no. And I'm like, well, that's the same as like putting an emoji on a caption. It's like, you're not saying anything. It's weird. Like, don't, you know, like everything has to have a purpose to it. And yeah, I think that when like what you just said, like people they stay stuck because it's so obvious that they have no idea what they're doing. And that's where it comes into the girls that invest in learning are the ones that are going to skyrocket, and the ones that stay stuck are the ones that are still trying to copy other people doing things in the industry, but it doesn't come through as authentic because it really just screams that they don't know what they're doing. And that just, it causes so much distrust for consumers, because consumers are so much smarter now as well when they're choosing services or when they're choosing anything. It's actually crazy how much smarter they are with this stuff.
If you're listening to this and you're thinking, holy crap, that's me, I have no idea what I'm doing, then I just want to remind you that this is something that both Taurie and I have both been through. You know, it's not like you're alone. However, we're here to like show you what you can be doing instead. So to give you an idea of what I used to do, I'll share this with you, Taurie. I used to post up those pretty Tumblr or Pinterest posts every second post on my feed. So, you know, I would post a photo of my work and then it would be like some Dior book or magazine thing, and then it would be another photo of my work, and then it would be a laptop and a phone. And I was just like, oh, my feed's so aesthetic. And it's like, you look at that content and no one engages with it. Yes, it looks pretty, but how many people are actually going to your profile and always checking how aesthetic your feed looks? Like, yeah, it helps when people come, you know.
Yeah, for new followers.
The first time, but like ongoing, everyone's like, why are you posting a photo of flowers? You don't even sell flowers. And I was just like, because it look pretty. And so I genuinely thought I was making my brand look really nice, but everyone else is like, what the fuck? And then the problem with this that I didn't realize at the time, it was giving the algorithm such mixed signals about what niche I'm in and what I offer. And so when it was trying to actually figure out where do I push Sammy's content, it had no clue. And so the ways that I actually had to learn what I was doing wrong in the first place was firstly admitting I had no idea what I was doing, and whatever I was doing, it wasn't working, and I knew I needed to make money and get clients, and I couldn't afford not to know for another 6 months and have to close down my business. And so I invested in a business coach. I learned about content strategy marketing strategy, you know, all the different moving parts, because, you know, you've got this is the way I look at it from my perspective. Taurie, I'm more than happy to have your feedback here.
Mm-hmm.
I have just found that in your marketing strategy, there's little strategies within it. So you've got your traffic, where are you getting eyeballs? So that is your engagement strategy. You could be leveraging PR. You could be getting on podcasts, Facebook ads. You have to be doing something to actually get new eyeballs coming to you.
Yeah.
You've then got your content marketing strategy, which is essentially you're putting out two types of content because there's two types of people following you. So you've got new followers who have no idea who you are, what you do. And then you've already got followers who have bought from you and they're, you know, just wanting to see what you're getting up to. And so that content is there to nurture, but it's not necessarily going to actually get you the clients. And I found it was the lead generation strategy that was missing, whether it was on my stories, it was CTAs in my posts, it was going into Facebook groups. And so when I actually learned about all the different components, that's when I started noticing, I don't need to post that Dior book anymore. Stop going on Tumblr. I actually need to focus on creating something that is going to pull all the levers and work together to get me those results. You've obviously done a lot of different marketing in your kind of world in terms of what you teach your students. What do you think is the most successful strategy when it comes to marketing?
Just consistency. And I know that people say it and it's one of those words that I even hear and I kind of cringe when I even say it, but everyone's just consistency, staying consistent. And I actually heard this really good analogy the other day, and it was when you're at the gym, you have to consistently go to get gains, right? So it's if you're not consistently showing up every day, you're not going to get to where you want to be in the gym, whether it's to grow muscle, to lose fat or whatever. And it's the same in your business. It's if you don't post every single day, it's not going to create this domino effect of where you want to push your business to, because you have to keep showing up. You have to keep posting every day. You have to be on stories, and it just has to be one of those things that you do consistently. And it can't really be I'll show up heaps one week and then fall off the bandwagon and not show up at all for the next week, because the same sort of thing, it's going to take you so much longer to get to where you want to be. And when you get into a posting strategy that is consistent, easy to follow, it's just a no-brainer. It's you make it part of your work. And that's what I started doing. I was it's actually my job to post every single day. This is part of my job, and it's what my audience is there to see, and it's my job to serve them in that way. So it's my students, before they start working with me, that's where they're always stuck. They're I don't know what to post when, and I don't know how to post to make my feed look aesthetic. So there's two pillars there that come into play, where it's okay, well, you have to have a beautiful looking feed, and we need a feed plan, but then you need to be posting consistently every day, and you have to keep that feed plan together. And then within that feed plan, you have to then be putting in beautiful content. So there's three things right there with being consistent that all need to go together. And then if you add in a fourth, that's captions. And then you add in a fifth, and that's stories. So that consistency compounds into what is going to grow your business. And I think that that's the most important thing. And it's also what a lot of people need to learn to do, because it's where a lot of people get stuck.
Everything you've just said there, it really hit me. You're consistency is key.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the key. However, before the second part of everything you said about the feed post, the stories, being consistent with that, you could be consistent without having a strategy.
Mm-hmm.
And so consistency is key, but you have to have a strategy behind it, guys. If you're sitting there and you're just posting before and afters consistently with one emoji as the caption consistently, you could still be consistent and not get the result. And I think this is where I find the consistency is key, is yes, however, there's a caveat to that.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of comes back to what I've said in previous episodes about, you could be working really hard for a very long time and still feel like you're getting nowhere because you don't have a strategy. And I know that there's some people listening to this who are I don't have time for that, and this is a common objection that you will get as a business owner. Like, this is a common objection that we get as coaches. It's like, I don't have time to do that. And the cost of not doing that or not finding someone else to help you do that is that you don't have clients. You don't have consistency in cash flow. You're always stressing out week to week, wondering, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? What new sale do I need to host so I can try bring some more money in? And then you create this really toxic burnout cycle. And with what Taurie was saying about the consistency, something that I think is really worth bringing up is I have in the past seen people do really well in the lead up to Christmas. They get booked out and then they just take the pedal off their marketing. And then by the time January and February comes around, you've got everyone who's sitting on Facebook forums going, is anyone else quiet? It's the quietest time of the year. It's just a really bad time for our industry. And then you get everyone else validating that, saying, yeah, it's really quiet for me, run another promo, drop brochures off, and I'm just like clawing my eyeballs like, stop. But, it's not my place to tell everyone like, no, you're wrong. It's just like, it's more like there's actually another way. And so if you look at what you were doing 4 to 6 weeks prior, you can see, well, you were busy. You didn't post for like a month and like people think your account's dead. Side note, I went through who I was following the other day because I was like, I need to do a bit of a cull. And every like 5th account I would have in that list either hasn't posted for over like 6 months or they had closed down.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And so for me, I'm like, well, even if you haven't posted for a month, if I'm a customer looking for you and I see you haven't, I'm just going to assume your business isn't running anymore. Like it sounds so like stupid, but if you don't see stories, you don't see current content, you're like, oh, do they still exist?
Yeah, I spoke to one of my best friend about this, and I don't know how we're on the topic, but she's like, oh God, if I go on somebody's page and I'm looking for something and they haven't posted for even like 2 weeks, I'm like, oh no, I don't trust that page. Like I'm not going there. And I was like, wow, 2 weeks? And she's like, yeah, if there's nothing on there that's been like recent, then like I don't want to go there because it makes me feel like they don't like really like work and that they don't want to do, I don't know what she said, but it was just, I was surprised that it was like, within 2 weeks if somebody hasn't posted. I was like, okay, that's interesting.
Definitely.
Yeah. But yeah, I agree with what you said about staying consistent. You can stay consistent with doing the wrong things. And you can also like not posting is, you're being consistent by not posting. So it's like, well, you got to choose your consistent, thing that you're doing. And then yes, actually have a strategy behind it because yes, you could consistently post filler photos and like you were saying before, like that confuses Instagram. And I've done posts on so many things that we've just spoken about. And yeah, filler photos is one of those things that really just grinds my gears. It's like, yes, they're great to use for aesthetics, but they need to be purposeful and you need to understand what their reason is. And there is just, you can't get away with just posting a filler photo for absolutely no reason because once again, it makes you look like you don't know what you're doing.
Okay. I'm going to do something a little bit different here. Okay. I have a question for you, Taurie. What is one content topic or style of post that goes off every single time for your clients? I have one I'm going to share, but I want to know, do you give them one specific one to do that consistently works every single time?
Like for their audience?
Yeah.
I'm going to go off this from my own experience with my audience, but it's carousel posts that do really, really well. But that's nurturing my existing audience. So that's hard for me to answer because for my students, they all come in at different entry levels of the industry and they all are looking for different outcomes, I suppose. Like some of them are starting off like needing to get an audience in, whereas other people have an audience. They just want to get their audience more engaged. So the different type of content that I give to my students is based on what they want to achieve. So it is a little bit different to what would go off for one and what would go off for another. But me personally, I have found that, of course, reels are, they have always been the ones that get the most amount of reach. But for audience nurturing, carousel posts are my number one.
Thank you for sharing. I love it. I agree about the carousels too. Whenever I do storytelling carousels, they pop off every time. But one post that no matter the level of where the client's at, if they're new, if they're established, if they have a team, if they're solo, this piece of content performs the best for any of my clients. And that is doing a highlight kind of movie trailer. So essentially what you do is you look at who you are as a person, what your interests are, what you like, what you offer, what makes you different. So it's giving you this really nice blend of you as a person and your business, or who's involved in your business. And it has a mixture of things. So like I did one, it's got me at the bowling alley, it's got me traveling, it's got me as a business coach, it's got me in a beauty salon. Like it's just pretty much giving people this whole experience of who I am if they were to like know me in less than 60 seconds. That piece of content, you can create it into a reel and then do a voiceover of you introducing yourself, who you serve, how you help, what your point of difference is, what you like, because essentially what that type of post is doing is, if you look at the know, like, trust funnel, it's hitting know who you are and like who you are. Then your next pin post in your feed would be obviously social proof, credibility, storytelling.
100%. Yeah.
But that one post, no matter the person, the industry, the level they're at, if you can create a movie trailer essentially of who you are, what you do, like people are going to froth it. The other post that comes to mind, that no matter the industry, no matter the level, it would actually have to be 10 facts about me that have nothing to do with beauty.
Yeah.
If someone's seeing like constant photos of like lashes, brows, skin, hair, like it's boring after a while. You should see my Instagram feed. Like I hate scrolling my Instagram feed because it's the exact same crap all the time. But when I see someone's face or I see something cool or interesting and someone's put effort into it, I'm like, I really appreciate this. Like I will take the time to comment. And what's really captured my attention about the 10 interesting facts, because I've had it consistently blow up for all my clients. Like, oh my gosh, that was the best performing post I've ever done. I'm like, yeah, because you showed your face.
Yeah,
and because
personal.
people can see who you are, what you're about, they say, oh, I want to go to her. Like, and I've had people post this and get 5 to 10 bookings off the back end of it, because there's people who are on your stories who are just sitting there. They're not sure. They're kind of like, oh, do I do it? Do I book with Taurie? Do I not? And then they see that post and they're like, Taurie's my girl. You know what? I'm biting the bullet and doing it. So if you're listening to this right now, I've just given you 2 pieces of content that you can go implement in your business, and I want you to tag beauty industry leaders and let me know how it goes, because if it's your most performing post, like, thank me later.
Yeah, I agree. Anything personal, and it is one of the strategies that I've given a few of my students to actually do is put up not so much like a trailer, like what you said, but at least just put up a photo of yourself, pin it to the top of your page, introduce yourself, say who you are, let people know what your interests are. Like nothing too like professional. Just be like, I love coffee and I don't mind a wine on the weekend. I also have, a Labrador that I adore, and, I just stuff,
I'm not a serial killer. It's okay.
Yeah, or even like music interests, like, put up like people I like heavy like rock metal music, and people are like, oh, and I'm like, yeah, I love it. But it's like, it's something that people wouldn't, assume somebody to like. It's a little bit more like
screamo in the background for Taurie's intro when she starts her podcast. All right, take note.
Yeah. I'm always looking for like music on my reels and stuff, and I'm like, oh God, like I just can't put my like rock music on there. So I was like,
yeah, come to a relaxing lash appointment.
Yeah, there's a screaming in the back
all night.
Yeah, definitely don't play it in salon, but yeah.
That's me with drum and bass. I love drum and bass. Like I will pump it at the gym, in my car. It's my music to just do anything. And everyone's like, how do you listen to that all the time? I'm like, it just gives me energy. I think it's like my ADHD. It just really gets me in my zone of genius. And I think sometimes you think, oh, that might be a bit weird to share. And then randomly someone else will share it. And then you're like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm not the only freak out here.
Yeah. I've shared it before and I've had clients like, oh my God, I love that band. They're my favorite too. And I'm like, yeah. Like, you know, it's just, yeah, it's cool to have that personal element on there. So yeah, I definitely, I'm not surprised that that type of content works really well.
People like them, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I love this. So let's move into our next kind of topic, which is hiring, team management, protecting your business. You've said that hiring staff has been one of your biggest challenges. Can you share one of the toughest experiences you've had with employees?
Yeah, there's a few that come to mind. I'm going to go back to my very first one. That's the first painful one that popped up for me when you asked that question. So my very first one was a employee. Actually, she's probably my second one, but this is the one that she was with me for a while. So she was my first full-timer. And she was with me from when I rented a room in somebody else's salon. So I rented a room on my own, and then I grew so much in that room that I hired her. So we both worked very closely in this one room. And then I kept growing. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to open up a salon for us. So she was with me for, I think, 2, maybe 3 years. And she was with me through that whole transition of all of that. And she was great. Clients loved her, all the things. And she resigned one day, and I was like, whoa, okay. And it was just her and I that worked full time. And it was the crocodile tears and all of the big lying spiel as to why. And it was just, when I found out that everything that she said to me was a complete lie, I couldn't fathom it, because I'm such an honest person. I would never do that. I'm quite understanding. So just be real. And I really, really value honesty. And so that for me was, the reason that hurt so much was because, she was like, I'm going to go into, accounting with my brother or whatever. I've been in beauty for 10 years. I'm just really sick of it. I don't want to do it anymore. And I was like, okay, it's okay. And I was consoling her and felt, I was like, it's okay. It's all good. And then next minute she had stolen a whole heap of my clients, gone through my database, taken their numbers, gone and opened up her own lash place at home or wherever it was, and blocked me on everything. And I had to, find that out the hard way. And I just was shattered. I just could not believe that somebody that I had a friendship with and that I trusted would then be able to lie to my face, steal from me, and then block me. And then just the deceit that comes from that was just probably the biggest heartache that I have ever felt in business. And my business suffered from that. I was left without a full-time employee. I was left with less clients. I had my overheads that I still had to pay for. I was financially struggling. It was all of that on top of me feeling emotionally betrayed. And I was just floored from that. It was awful.
That sounds like an incredibly tough experience to go through alone as well, when you've got so much pressure to continue the operational costs, especially of a commercial fit out. As soon as you start dropping employees, you don't get to spread those operational costs across all the hours you're working.
Yeah.
What did you do to recover from that? Did you hire someone else, or did you just work all those hours yourself?
Did you
go to therapy?
God, so tough. I took it on, and I just did what I could. And like you said, it's so tough when you're in that, because you can't just call in sick because you're upset, or you can't call in and be like, God, I'm having a really hard day today. It's like you have to deal with that emotional feeling and emotional stress, and that, the mental fatigue and everything that goes with it, and still run a business and still show up for your clients every single day. You can't cancel your clients and not go in, and then you have to troubleshoot everything. You have to message clients and explain to them, like, I have to cancel your appointment. I've got nowhere else to see you. Like, I'm so sorry, I can't fit you in. And then that comes with a whole heap of things like clients getting pissed off at you and me getting abused by clients. And it is, I wouldn't wish it upon anyone, because it doesn't just reflect, like, it reflects my business as a whole. It's like, well, I can't help that my employee left me, but it's somehow my fault and my problem, and I'm getting abused on the other end of, the messages from clients because they can't get seen anymore. So it's, yeah, from what it sounds like on the outside, it's like, oh, you just had an employee leave. And it's like, well, when you're working in your business full time, that is, something that I don't ever want to have to experience again.
What advice would you give to a salon owner who is about to hire their first staff member?
I would just say, make sure that you know how to manage people properly, and make sure that you're a manager before you hire. Because I wasn't, and I can happily admit that I'm not good at managing people. And it was one of those things that I had to learn the hard way. So just make sure that you've got policies in place, make sure you've got contracts in place, make sure that you're not hiring somebody and bending over backwards for them, because I find that a lot of people will do that as well. They're like, God, I really need help. Like, I'll give her whatever she wants to be paid, and I'll give her whatever hours that she wants to work, and I'll give her all these bonuses. I just really need her on. And it's like, you just give your power away so much when you do that, and employees will walk all over you. And that's where I fell short, is when I needed someone. I was like, yes, I felt like, I'm such a nice person. I'm so happy to be flexible and give you the hours that you're after. Whereas, like, I wasn't being a boss. I was being a pushover. But some people have a really good way of balancing that fine line of firm but fair. And I never balanced it. I just couldn't. I was either too firm or I was too fair, or, it didn't work in my favor. So my biggest advice would be to make sure that you're a manager and you know how to manage people before you hire.
That's really solid advice. And I also really appreciate your vulnerability and ownership of, I probably wasn't the best leader or manager, because there's a lot of people out there who are in the exact same position. They want the support so that they can actually take on the clients, but they have no idea how to manage or lead a team, and nothing can really prepare you for it. Even if you read all the manuals and the training thing, like, yeah, sure, it definitely helps. But like I've got in another episode with Ellie from Beauty Business Society, you are dealing with so many different types of personalities. And even, I don't know if you can relate to this, Taurie, but like, even me in my hiring process, like, I worked with a hiring strategist. We got our hiring cycle all mapped out, and you can go through the interviews, you can get them on a trial, but seriously, that after that first 6 months, that's when the true nature of them comes out. And it's a big risk to kind of just go, you know what, I'm just going to wait.
Yeah,
for
100%.
6 months. And so having that probation period in place, I think, is more essential than anything. I've got a couple different people I know who run businesses, and it's quite interesting how they structure their employees' onboarding. Some people are just like, yep, you know what, I just need to hire someone, like, I'll give them these hours, and they go straight into part-time. And it's really hard to fire someone, without doing all the performance reviews, without making sure that you're doing it ethically and not getting a call up from Fair Work. But now, even looking at the 3-month probation period, if they're only doing a couple days a week as a casual, sometimes people are pushing that probation period out to 6 months so that they can really see, okay, do I want to keep this person on long term, or, are they giving me their best in the first kind of 2 to 3 months and then they're slacking off? And so I think that's a huge one as well, like really being able to have a thorough hiring process. But even despite having that, sometimes people just put on this front and nothing can prepare you for what may come out later. And I think that's where people kick themselves. They're like, I should have seen this coming sooner. And you're just trying to do your best. You're trying to offer them everything you can to make sure that they're the best employee. But some people, unfortunately, don't have the same values as you, and they will manipulate and use you. And you have to, like Taurie's saying, be firm and know when it's time to cut it off.
Yeah, 100%. I think firing oh God, I think I've only had to fire like 2 or 3 times, and it's awful. It's one of those things that I have dreaded like having to do. But yeah, I agree with you on that. Like even on the trial period, it's so hard to see exactly what somebody is going to be performing like. I mean, like I had a girl that came off her probation period and then the next week wore thongs to work. I was like, what are you wearing? Like, she's like, oh, you wore them the other day. And I was like, I popped in to drop something off. Like, what are you? Oh, I just couldn't. Anyway, I could write a whole book of things like this. Having staff it's like with anything, there's pros and cons to it. And I mean, I've got an employee now and she's an absolute angel. Like she's just the best worker and she's wonderful. And, you know, but I've also had like the other end of the scale. And then I've also had a bigger team where I've had 3 girls, and then I have stepped out of the salon and have found out that when I'm not there, they're all bitching about me. And so there's so many different things that come with having a team and feeling like, yes, I'm progressing and I can step back and I can do all these things. But every time I got a bigger team so I could step back, I got thrown straight back in because there was just more issues that arose. So I know you wanted to talk about it on like today, but it was one of the reasons that I downsized my salon.
Yeah, let's touch on that a bit more because I'm seeing it come up a bit more in Facebook forums where you've got people saying, you know what, how did you go downsizing from a commercial space with a team to a home salon? And it seems to be one of those things where wages are going up, super's going up, rent's gone up, you know, and trying to manage a team, you know, if they're not marketing and not investing in their brand and they're feeling quite stagnant or going backwards, they just don't want the pressure of it anymore. And it's exhausting, right? Like if you don't have everything working out for you, to just be feeling like you're constantly fighting this uphill battle and going nowhere. Sometimes you're like, you know what, I made more money and I was happier when I worked at home. And everyone at home is like, I want the team and I want the fancy fit out. Like, everyone wants what the other person has, but they don't appreciate what they do have and make that the best they can. What made you make that transition from, hey, I've got me and my 3 team members commercial space to like, you know what, it's just me and my other girl and now I'm going to focus on the content and branding side of things?
Probably because I just went through, so I had my commercial space for 7 years and I focused on wanting to be the best salon and having the best team and producing the best work and being busy. And, you know, it's like me and my 3 girls, and I would love like showing that off on social media and all the sort of like validation, I suppose, that came from it, and feeling like I did it. I'm so proud of myself. Like, this is awesome. But then it was just like a domino effect of like, okay, that team member didn't work out, so now I have to rehire. And then that team member is a little bit toxic, so now I have to possibly look at like firing her, or, you know, these girls are bitching about me when I'm not in salon. So I just went through like 7 years of this constant, like, it feels good, and then I'd be in tears. Everything's running really well, and then I'd have a breakdown. Everything, you know, is running really smoothly. I'm going to go away on a holiday and I can't relax.
Everyone leaves.
Yeah.
So much. Like, I have some really incredible friends in the industry now, and they've been on this podcast, and, you know, one went away for a holiday and, you know, she's had 2 team members leave, and then another one's had a holiday, she's going away, and then 1 staff member's leave. And this was all within the period of like 3 weeks. I had 3 friends all go for a holiday, and they're all the business owners, and they had like 1 to 2 staff leave, and they always do it behind your back when you're on holiday, or like literally the week before. And it's just like,
yeah, it's crazy.
They're cowards. They know that you're going away, and they think, you know what, I can just, you know, sneak away now. Yeah. And it's sad that people do that, because like, I could just never, I think, and that's just comes down to how I was raised, you know, with my values.
That just comes down to your morals and your values, because I'm the same. I just would never. But,
you know, even we hired a manager, and he was actually one of the top guns at Bunnings down in Albany. And, you know, I had a conversation with him. We did an interview, we went through everything, and he only had to give 2 weeks notice to Bunnings, but because of who he is and how he responds in his role, he said, this is where I'm going, this is what I'm doing, like, and basically gave them 4 weeks notice.
Yeah.
And so there are good people out there like that
Yeah.
who do have that level of integrity, but you know, it is really disappointing, and like it is a little bit heartaching when people do that to you. And I just wish, if you're an employee
listening
and you listen to this episode, you know, just be a decent human. And I think as well, yes, the business owner might get a little bit upset that you're leaving them, but they're going to appreciate you being honest and hearing it from you first rather than another employee or, you know, a family member or a friend if you've got a mutual friend. Because at the end of the day, if you communicate what your goals are from the start or what you're wanting to work towards, then it kind of sets the premise that, hey, we've only got you for this period of time, and it works better for everyone. And I'll give an example of this. We had an employee, he's a backpacker, you know, we hired him as a bartender, and basically he was working for us, and he said, you know, I'm looking at moving to Kalgoorlie and I want to work on the mines and, you know, all that. And we were like, thank you for letting us know, because if you were to have let us know like 2 weeks, the hiring process takes longer than 2 weeks for us, and especially down in Albany, you've got less people. It's very competitive. Yeah, there's a whole thing there. But the fact that he let us know so we were aware about 2 months in advance.
Yeah.
And we could start looking in that time. And then he was even able to help, you know, the next person who was coming in just train and show them.
Yeah.
That was actually something that made him not feel guilty for leaving, because he was able to still help that person, even though he didn't have to, but he wanted to.
Yeah.
And we were also able to have a smooth transition. And so if you're listening to this, if you're a good boss and you're actually checking in with your employees, you're having those one-on-ones, you can actually pick up on these things before they happen, and you can create a plan. But if you're just expecting them to come up to work, you know, you're paying their bills, and then there's no kind of other communication around there, this is when those things might come up and, you know, absolutely blow up in your face, because you actually weren't in touch with your employee and what's going on and if they were happy or if they were looking elsewhere. It's like relationships. If you don't communicate, if you don't check in, then they might start looking for attention elsewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to, go back on on that, when staff have left, I had one of another long-standing team member give her notice because she got poached, and she gave me her notice for 2 weeks before Christmas. And I was like, no, you just cannot leave you have to do Christmas. Like, if you want to go and work in another salon, you're not going and working in somebody else's salon. I trained her up from scratch and everything, and she was wonderful. And so that's a whole nother other story, but just things like that, 2 weeks before Christmas, just please don't. It's just so tough. But back on what your question was about why I downsized, basically because I went through all of that, and I just I'm quite spiritual. And so I was just kind of really sat down, and I was like, I keep getting pushed back into things that I don't want to be pushed back into. I felt like I was fighting against myself and what I was actually aligning with. And I just kept getting this felt like something was just trying to push me off the path that I wanted to be on because it wasn't the right one. And I constantly felt like that with staff. It was I wanted this, I wanted to hire, and I wanted to be busy, and then I wanted to step back, and I wanted to not be in the salon and working much anymore because I'd built it up so much, and then something would always happen and that would never work out. And so over the time of that continuously happening, I was like, right, I actually sat down with my sister because she's a business owner as well, and she was like, Taurie, why don't you just get rid of the salon? And I was like,
am I allowed to do that?
I was like, I don't really know if I want to do that. I was like, what do you mean? She was like, just get rid of it. She's like, the amount of times that you've called me upset and saying that, this isn't working out, or, X, Y, and Z, whatever else it would be. She's like, just, my lease was coming up, and that's what I was speaking to her about. She's like, can you not just go back to working on your own? And I was like, yeah, I can, but I don't want to do lashes full time anymore. I don't like, my back hurts. I've been doing it for 12 years, like for 40 hours a week. That's not my plan. And she was like, well, why don't you downsize and then just work out what your plan is from there? Because you've got so many overheads. You're always stressed out about finances. If you don't have a certain amount of staff, then you struggle to pay bills and things like that. Like, I think I was having to bring in like at least 20 grand a month just to keep myself above water. And like, that's so much pressure. And I was like, yeah, okay. And my solicitor walked into my salon 10 minutes later with the lease to sign it. And I said, I don't want to sign it. And he was like, oh. And I said, I don't want to sign it. He was like, okay. And he was a bit like taken back, but it was that call with my sister that I was like, I just needed somebody to be like looking at it from an outsider point of view and just seeing that it wasn't working. And I was trying to push something uphill that kept pushing me back. And I was like, okay. So I made the decision to do it. And I felt, I don't know how I felt. I felt not embarrassed, but I felt like my clients would judge me. And so me being me and still having to, offer a really like nice aesthetic, like, salon and all those types of things for my clients, I seeked out a space that I could rent in somebody else's salon. And it's perfect. It's a big open space. It's a quiet salon. The aesthetic is exactly the same as mine. I'm just renting the space. I don't have the overheads, and myself and my employee work there side by side. And so even when you walk into the salon, people think that it's mine anyway, because it kind of looks like mine because we take up like the middle space of it. And so I was like, oh, kind of just, getting away with people thinking that it's mine when it's not mine anyway. But it was a big decision and it was a big move, and I thought I'd be really upset. I thought I would cry. I thought I'd sit in my empty salon and have all the feels. And I honestly handed the keys back and just left. And I haven't really thought about it since, which is weird, which is a weird feeling for me. I had that space for 7 years and I absolutely adored it. It was stunning. And there's actually another lash salon in there. And that makes me feel a little bit funny. But apart from that, it's the best thing that I have, the best decision that I've made.
I think you've also got to be real with yourself about, what do I want? And for the next 5 years or 10 years, what does life look like? And so many people in our industry, and this is myself included, probably until the last year, we're so short-sighted. We're only looking at what's happening next week, let alone what's happening next month or next year. And so for you to go, hey, what's life going to look like if I sign this lease? It's not just me doing this for the next year. It's probably for another 3 to 5 years or however long the lease was.
Yeah.
That's kind of the thinking that you need to have in business, especially when you've got a team of like, where are we going? Are we growing, or are we looking to exit, or are we going to downsize? And I had a friend go through a very similar thing with you, as you. She didn't go through it with you, but she went through the same thing. She
They're
had
in spirit.
5 staff, this beautiful hair salon, and she invested everything into her team, their trainings, taking them to Bali, team building activities. And when she was actually running the salon, she's making, at the peak with all the staff, 450 to 500K a year.
Yeah.
But as a solo operator doing it on her own, she could make 250K. And so, to have 5 to 6 team members all working there and only be making maybe the exact same amount that she could make on her own, with all the overheads, 6 to 7K a month on your rent, it's so expensive. And so for her, she did the same thing. Not as long. I think she did 5 or 6 years, and then she just realized, I'm not happy. I'm not actually enjoying life, and I've got different priorities now. And so that's really focusing on building a family and doing all those things. And she's like, it was fun while it lasted, but now she's like you. She's transitioning out of that kind of space. She still does her clients. She's fitted out a beautiful home salon. And whether you're new or whether you're established and you're wondering what to do, I think something that we all need to give ourselves more permission in is being okay with revisiting what our goals are if they aren't aligning anymore. And I think that's something that we feel guilty about. We feel guilty because I had this grand plan to have the big salon and all the team. And you know what? I realize I'm not a leader and I don't like having all this team, and it's a lot more stress. And so you might keep doing all the things and then you're like, I'm actually miserable. I never see my partner, my friends, my family.
Yeah.
Like life is just not what I thought it would be. And I think if you don't have that strategy or that support in place, you don't feel like you're going anywhere. So it's not worth it. If you do, it's a different story. You know, you've got a manager, you're able to work yourself out of the business, you're able to continue growing, like, great.
Yeah.
But if you're not doing that, you know, sometimes you have to ask, when was I most happy or fulfilled, or what do I actually want to do? Because I definitely got to a point when I was in beauty and I was like, I'm fully booked. I'm making the most amount of money I can right now. Do I want to continue this? I obviously got diagnosed with scoliosis. So I think as I was thinking, do I really want to do this? The same time the universe was like, nah, we're canceling you. You can't do this even if you wanted to. And so I had to redirect my whole career. And at that time, I had an identity crisis. I don't think I've ever sat somewhere and just gone, holy shit, my uni degree is cancelled. I can't do beauty anymore. Like my whole life has changed. But 5 years past that point, and I look now, where am I? What am I doing? Man, I'm traveling like 4 or 5 times a year. I've got the coolest podcast. I have built this beautiful community. Like it just really, like it doesn't matter if it feels like it's not going to work out. Whatever is meant to happen will happen.
Yeah,
and it sounds so cliche, but you know, I have been through the worst experiences you could think of as a business owner, like facing bankruptcy, you know, dealing with crappy team members. You know, I even had as a coach another lash artist steal my course, become a lash trainer, not a lash trainer, a lash business coach. And then, you know, she sent her employee in, stole my fully booked formula. And then she was teaching that and then demanded a refund from me because I blocked her on everything and said, you know, I don't appreciate this. And it was just like, I've had the worst of the worst. And still, I just want to say you can still have incredible things out of life. And like Taurie was saying before about the leadership and the mindset, it's actually all mindset. Like it doesn't matter the strategy. Like, you know,
it is
if you
mindset.
don't have the right mindset, you're always going to be out there blaming other things. And I think that's one thing I really do love about your honesty and what you're coming to this conversation with is that you have had these bad experiences and yeah, they do hurt and they burn and you get pissed off and angry, but you still are able to walk away and take the lesson and not go, it was all my staff members' fault. And, you know, the
100%.
industry is so messed up and, you know, you're not being a victim to the events that have happened.
No,
and sure.
100%. Yeah. I always look at it and I'm like, you know, things happen for me. They don't happen to me. And I think that mindset shift is so beneficial for anybody that is listening. If you feel like, you know, you blame other people or, you know, that it's their fault or this happened to me because of like other people, it's like, well, it's just happening. It's happening for you. It's not happening to you. And it could be happening for you it generally happens for you for the best reasons to, you know, propel you into something that you're meant to be doing and to, listen to those types of like little things that pop up that don't feel right. And it's like, okay, it doesn't feel right. So it's probably not right. So something sort of like needs to change. So I love that you said that like about strategy. It's like, yeah, you can follow a strategy, but if you follow a strategy and you're consistent and you think, oh, this strategy is shit or this, you know, I hate being consistent, it's not going to work. It won't. Whatever you think will happen. So if you think it won't work, then it won't work, you know. So whatever you put out is very much what you will get back. So your mindset in business, I would say, is like top number one priority. And then your strategy will fall into place the way it's meant to after that.
Agree with everything you just said. So relevant and powerful. Another thing about our industry, not only just lashes, but beauty as a whole, it is quite unregulated. And when we look at the issues that arise from an unregulated industry, we're seeing low barriers to entry. So anyone can enter at any stage.
Yeah.
There's a lot of inconsistency in results. So in terms of like the actual services delivered, the results that people can create.
Mm-hmm.
But then also in trainings, like we spoke about in the start of the episode, you know, there's 1-day trainings, 2-day trainings, there's, you know, a TAFE training that's 1 hour a week or 2 hours a week over 6 to 12 weeks. Like, it's just so inconsistent. What do you think the long-term impact of this is in the industry?
Like negative impact or positive? Because
I'd like to hear both. I'm honestly open to discussing both sides.
I feel like the impact of it has been more positive than negative. It used to be negative because there was so much bad work happening and people were getting, you know, injured, and, you know, whether that's like, you know, from skin treatments or lashes or brows or like anything in the industry, like nails and, you know, infections and things like that. Consumers have become so aware of how bad it can be, and they are so much more aware of who they want to go to and where they choose to go. And this, like, on that topic, this comes down to how you also like show up online for your business, and it's what will make you have a reputable brand, and what makes you stand out. So I think that at the start, it had a very negative effect, but people have recovered from that and gone, okay, I'm going to be smarter about this now, and I'm going to do my research, and I'm going to choose who looks better, and I'm going to go off. I'm going to, like, the amount of times that I have people come in and I'm like, oh, where did you hear about us? And they're like, oh, Google, you've got so many good reviews. And I'm like, okay, so they've been doing their research. So they've looked at reviews and they've looked at photos, and they want that feeling of like, I'm making the right choice, and I'm going to go and see Taurie at Lash Lane. I don't care that her prices are more expensive, because it's obviously a reflection on what she offers. So that also comes down to another thing that I could talk about, which is like, you know, pricing and the way that you look and, you know, you perceive value online and things like that. So I think now it's going in a positive direction, and I think business owners need to pull their socks up about it, because it's also going to weed out those businesses that aren't in that top sort of category of being picked, if you know what I mean, because people are so much more smarter before they buy now.
Definitely. You know, what's quite interesting is that the market size of the hairdressing and beauty services industry in Australia has actually been declining at 7.5% between 2020 to 2025. So we actually saw a massive peak where in 2022, the number of service-based businesses in the beauty industry was estimated to be around 33,000.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, these numbers are not entirely correct, because I would say there's a lot of people who don't register their businesses and who have closed down. And like, so obviously with Ibis World, I'm still questioning how accurate that data is. But in today's world, we have an estimated around 26.6 thousand. So that gives you an idea that, like, yes, there is a lot of people coming into the industry, but they're also going out just as fast. And so those people who are really investing and continuing to upskill not only in the actual service they offer or the innovative techniques or trends or whatever is going on, but also in terms of actually learning how to run the business.
Yeah.
Those things are really powerful in you securing your spot for the long term.
Yeah.
It's really easy to get started, guys. It is so easy to get started, but what's hard is to actually stay in the long term. And so if you stop looking at it as just dollar signs and you start thinking like, what do I do to increase my value that can long term equal more money, then you're going to create an incredible business. But if you're just trying to sign up, you think it's a quick win. And this is something that I think I brought up on the podcast before. Like, I don't know how many times I brought things up with clients or on my social media or podcasts. I'm sorry if I sound like a broken record. However, one thing I really have a bone to pick with in our industry is people who are claiming you can make 6 figures and do all these crazy amounts of income by taking their course. And I think that's really unethical without providing the knowledge of how to actually get clients and what does it look like to retain clients, because you're actually teaching them a skill. That skill can generate money. However, they're not going to be able to generate any of that money without understanding the marketing side, the business side. And so I think it's really
misleading.
Yeah, misleading is the perfect word. Like when
Yeah,
you see
really
Facebook ads of
misleading.
like, be your own boss, have your own freedom, work from home, choose your own
Freedom.
hours, and,
I want freedom for years.
online courses that are trying to teach you how to do this service. And like maybe these people, like most people in beauty are hands-on people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you got into it because you're creative, you're good with your hands, you like communicating with clients. And so to watch an online training and not have any of that hands-on support, some people are fine. They're very autonomous. They can do it on their own. But also for the
Yeah.
people who need that one-on-one support in person, they're at a disadvantage because they're not actually developing the skills or the confidence to be able to provide that service. And so, I guess there's kind of a level where I'm like, to my clients who I do have as one-on-one and they are trainers or educators, I'm like, you know what? You need to make a difference. If you're going to say some claims like that, you need to provide them with some kind of training or information on what their next steps are to actually secure those clients and grow that business. Because unless they actually know how to do the business side of things, it's very misleading to, promise that you're going to make six figures or you're going to be able to achieve that, especially in your first year. People are thinking, oh, they're making that in their first year. And it's not just beauty, it's also uni degrees. When I got my uni degree booklet, it pretty much had every single degree you could study and then what the average income is. No one tells you that you're not going to make that income for probably the first 5 years out of your degree. You start as a junior, you're inexperienced, you're an amateur, and then you slowly work your way up the ranks and then maybe you'll get paid that amount, but no one gets paid that amount straight off the bat. And so
not at all.
It's so misleading.
Yeah, 100%. Because I used to actually teach. I used to teach lashes and brows, and I quickly realized that I didn't enjoy doing it because the people that would come through, I could tell that they were there because they just looked at the industry and thought, I just want to make money. And I was like, I thought about when I got into the industry, I just loved doing it. I loved the reaction from my clients and I loved making them feel better. And I did it for free for so long just to practice. And, if that's not a testament to me doing it because I purely loved doing it, I wanted to do it right, then, but these other girls, they come in, they're like, well, I want to make money from doing it. And I'm like, okay, I get that. But it's also, it takes a long time. You have to practice. You'll be doing it for 3 hours to complete a full set, if not longer. And then the most eye-opening thing that I found was that these girls, I would have 2 theory components that they would have to study, and then I would do exams. And they would either not study and not take it seriously, or they would just fail the exams and not have any idea what I was talking about. And I was like, did you study and read your books? Like, oh, I looked over it. And I'm like, okay, it's really important that you know the theory part of it. So they just also weren't taking it seriously. And I see educators now that, they don't even offer to teach classics because they don't know how to do it themselves. So they're teaching these girls how to just do straight volume, and it just devalues the industry so much, and it makes us as lash artists look silly, I think.
I have a really interesting perspective on the pricing when it comes to lashes, because you've got commercial salons versus home salons, and the pricing is such a big variance. You've got people who are charging, $60 to $80 for a full set of lashes and it's taking them 2 hours. And then you've got people who are, charging $200 to $250 for a full set of lashes. And it's kind of like the respect or value of what the work actually, the respect and value of the work you actually do has been devalued over time because everyone's been undercutting each other. And so I'll just charge a little bit cheaper, and then someone else opens up their business and sees your price, and then they charge a little bit cheaper than you, and then the next person that sees their business charges a little bit cheaper. And so it's been this massive race to the bottom. And because so many people are undervaluing and undercharging because they don't know their numbers, they don't know how to price, once again copying what everyone else is doing. When someone does know their numbers and they charge accordingly, people stop in their tracks and they're like, why are you charging that much? And it actually,
we get called expensive all the time.
yeah. And it's actually kind of disheartening in the fact that you have years of experience. You've invested a lot into your training. You've invested into your brand. And yes, you'll attract people who do value you and they don't try, justify the prices. However, because vast majority of people are heavily discounting or undervaluing the service itself, the people who are established and who do value themselves and charge accordingly, they're in this awkward position where they have to almost justify or explain their pricing to people.
Yeah.
And I feel like that is just really unfair or frustrating.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. If there's like any sort of upset of, say, I don't know, for example, if a client comes in and they, 10 minutes late or whatever, and we have to finish 10 minutes early because they were late and, they still had to pay, like close to $200 for a full set, and say they message and say, like, considering how much I paid, I'm upset that I didn't get, that extra 10 minutes. There's always something that they put in there. It's like, what do you mean considering how much you paid? Or, considering the price of, what this is. There's just always those little things that tend to pop up for clients if they have any sort of like little upset, which it does raise the value of, what the client definitely expects when they're getting this service done when the pricing is higher. But it also creates that type of demographic that you're going to attract those people that have more money as well. So I very much don't have, teenagers and young girls because they've never been my demographic, and they're never the type of people that, they're not great clients. They don't take things seriously. They don't show up, or, all the things. And so my pricing is, I like that we're higher because we attract a better quality type of client that more so suits us and my salon as well. So you have both ends of the scale. If you want to charge cheaper, you're going to get those types of clients as well.
Agree with everything you said. Even found that in coaching, to be honest. I used to sell fully booked formula on a payment plan, and it was to the people in the industry who were like, kind of within those first 2 years, had no idea about marketing, and they wanted to go on, $55 or $75 a week payment plans across 35 weeks. And it was really stressful for me. And then, payments wouldn't go through. They wouldn't show up to calls. They're like, I'm not fully booked, haven't even watched the training. Like, they wanted everything for nothing. And I think people can relate to this because it still happens in beauty. It happens at bowling. It happens in any industry. The people who pay the least, they expect the most.
Yeah.
And then I've got one-on-one coaching clients who pay me anywhere from like $3,000 to $6,000 for a coaching package, paid in full.
Yeah.
Implement, take action, like 2x, 5x their income, increase their profits. And, there's never any kind of issues I have. And it's shown me again and again, no matter the industry, no matter the business, the people who pay you the most are the ones who are the most serious about investing in themselves. Yeah. They're the ones that are going to show up. They're going to value your time. They're going to respect you more, and they're more likely to actually get the result. And so
100%.
You have to be intentional. And also, that's without saying like you can't just go out and charge those prices without building the brand, the reputation, the experience up. So it does take time. And, those first couple years, they are hard. You'll put in more hours, more time than anyone else. It'll feel like it's going nowhere. But then when you get to your 3rd year, 4th year, 5th year, you'll really start to reap the rewards of the hard work you put in early. And if you've got that premium branding, that premium client experience, you've got those higher prices and you're able to consistently deliver on that, that's when you will actually see the rewards of your business. And I think it's really important to mention that, because in coaching, in training as well, some people will go out and they're like, I'm going to charge $3,000 to $5,000 for that. And, you don't have any credibility, you don't have any results. And so you've got to work your way up. And it's just the same as when you go out and you do your first lash set or, your first skin client. Like, you've still got to get the reps in to eventually progress. And so it's an ongoing journey.
Yeah, 100%.
So, Tori, we're going to work towards wrapping up this episode and move into a quick fire round. So, this is branding, business, and industry takes with Tori.
Mm-hmm.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Woo, let's go. Okay, what's the biggest mistake beauty businesses make with their branding?
Probably copying and not having it be recognizable because it looks like everyone else's, or they've just copied it, or it's, Lashes by Laura and they haven't thought of a actual like business name that is like, God, yeah, it doesn't stand out. It's no different. And it looks like everyone else's, and it looks like you haven't invested in proper branding and that, you haven't put much thought into it, basically.
What's one thing every lash artist should stop doing? Copying again?
No. The first thing that comes to mind is they need to stop offering volumes if you don't know what eye shape actually suits them.
Ooh.
Because there is, in my opinion and in my experience, there is only one eye shape and one eye set that suits volumes, and they're the only type of person that I think should ever get volumes.
Which one is it? Is it cat eye or dolly or?
No, like actual the actual eye like set, like the eye socket. So anyone with small, deep set eyes can generally get away with a volume set.
So is that me or not?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, when I had my volume lashes, I feel like my eyes actually drooped down, and now that I've finally gotten rid of them, I'm like, oh, you can actually see my eyes, and it's nice.
Yes.
But at the time, I was like, I cannot live without these. I don't look beautiful without them. And now that I have photos and memories coming up with like a full volume set, I'm like, gosh, how did I walk around in public like that? That's so full on. It's crazy how much everything changes.
I know. They're slowly going out of fashion as well. So, and surprisingly, I'd never even offered volumes in my salon for years because they didn't suit me.
Well, that's obviously your unique selling point then.
Yeah, more natural sets, yeah.
What's a lash trend that needs to go?
Oh, a lash trend that needs to go. I think half sets, but I don't mean like just every second lash. Like when I do a half set, I would just do like if someone's like, I want a really natural set, I'm just going to do like a half set of classics. And I'm like, okay, beautiful. And that's like, every second lash will cover. Some people, when they offer a half set, they literally only lash half of the eye.
I thought that's what a half set was because that's all I was seeing. So I see people like no lash, and then in the middle it just starts going up into this big volume.
That needs to stop. Yeah, it needs to be like an ombre effect or something. You still need to put lashes on the second half of the eye. So that needs to stop. Yeah.
If you could only give one piece of advice to not a new beauty business owner, but someone who's probably in that like 5 year, because we always do a lot to new, but like someone's 5 years into their journey, what would it be?
What was the question? If I could give them advice?
Yeah. One piece of advice.
Oh, goodness. One piece of advice for someone 5 years in. I think my advice would be that if it's feeling like it's working and progressing, keep going the way that you're doing everything. But if you're feeling like it's not and something feels off or it's not feeling aligned anymore, just sit down and work out exactly what it is that you want to get out of the industry, whether that's, you're looking at hiring staff or you've got staff or anything like that. But I feel like that 5 year mark is very important to then where you go from there. So if it was me, I would have told myself, just sit down and just have a think about really where you want to go and what you want out of this industry and your career, and map out the pros and cons of where you are now and look at making a plan for where you want to go.
Solid advice. Love that. If you weren't in beauty, what would you be doing?
I have no idea. Because
I think I say PT or something.
Really? No, I would hate to do that.
It spoke early.
Something, it would be something creative. I mean, I wouldn't be in branding and content if I wasn't in beauty, but I absolutely love doing it. So it would have to be, I would be in some sort of creative field. But yeah, hard question to answer. I'm not too sure. Something creative.
Maybe you'd be a graphic designer.
I don't know. I'm not very good at drawing things. I'm not sure what I would be.
Unemployed.
Unemployed, yeah. Just on the dole.
Oh, love that. Taurie, this has been such an insightful conversation. Where can people connect with you, learn from you, or work with you?
Best place to find me is on Instagram. It is Taurie Lane. Lane is spelled Laine. And yeah, Instagram is the best place to find me. All the links and stuff are on there, or my DMs are also always open. I'm always in there chatting to anybody that messages me or wants to, book a call or anything like that.
Amazing. Any final words for beauty professionals who want to stand out and build a serious brand?
Last words would be that work on your branding, make it reputable, make it stand out, make it unique, work on your content if your content needs to be worked on. Also have a strategy in place, work on your mindset, and invest in your education. It's something that makes people stand out. It's actually really easy to stand out in this industry. A lot of people just don't invest. So if you want to be one of the best and you do really beautiful work and you just want to stand out, then just invest in education on how to get there with your marketing. And I've no doubt that you'll make it.
Incredible. Thank you so much for everything you've shared today. I've really loved this conversation. And
same, thank you.
If you've listened to Taurie and I yap for like an hour and a half, you've done well. If you really found value in today's episode, can you please take a moment to screenshot it, share it to your stories, and tag both Taurie and I, letting us know what your biggest key takeaway is. Thank you for listening. I will catch you next week for another Beauty Industry Leaders episode. See ya.
Audience exclusive.